Greetings and God bless. I wanted to address kind of a something I've observed with um, people who have low income, and then like a church lady comes and starts helping, and there can be this dynamic that occurs whether it's a church lady or whether it's the government, social worker. But there's this entitlement that can occur, and parents can do this to their adult children, or adult children can do this to their parents, where there's this entitlement that if somebody is helping you, then that person who's getting the help, they are no longer deserving of autonomy or different opinion. And I had a friend when I was in Missoula, and she was, in her 50s, and she was being gang stalked in the building she lived in, and it was run by the local housing authority. The housing authority did nothing. The housing authority had cameras, and they did nothing to stop the gang stalkers. And so the my friend was like, then it must be the higher ups must want this gang stalking to happen. And I actually contacted the police and mentioned this woman's, like, I observed the gang stalking firsthand. It was very weird. And so and eventually we lost track, but she had told me about how a church lady was helping her, and then things got kind of sketchy. And I have noticed this too, where people, and it's even creepier with guys, some guys, um, like, for instance, if you really care about preventing if you really care about preventing human trafficking, um, stop having such high rents. Stop, if you're an investor, stop selling your houses for $500,000 or even $300,000 if the local wages are $8 an hour. Uh, make your sales, your real estate affordable to the local economy. Make the rentals affordable to the local economy. Because if you look at Craigslist room share, like a third of them are men looking for women who will get to pay less rent if they have sex with the guy who has the rental. And this is across the nation. Pretty much every place I have seen, almost, not every city, but a majority of them, a majority of just locations. And if you really care about human trafficking, but you don't, do you? Do these investors. And I'm talking about American investors who they just want to have this lovely portfolio. They want to compete with other investors in their community. They want to be so proud about how rich they are. And they're going to say, well, I'm paying all this taxes, so I get to exploit my resources. And to hell with the low income people, the working people, the working class people who are working at your coffee shops and your gas stations. Like, people are like, oh, well, the government should take care of them, or they should take care of themselves. Those people work in the gas station, then they should work a second shift at a donut shop, and then they're going to need that third shift because they're paying $1,000. But anyway, there's this entitlement when somebody is becoming this helper, whether it's a government or whether it's the church. There's this entitlement that people get into, and maybe it's a human nature. Excuse me. Maybe it's a human nature thing. Um, but somebody I was talking with who was talking about helping disadvantaged people, and saying that disadvantaged people, they were just too full of themselves. They were, they didn't want to follow the rules. They didn't want to do what they had to do, even though it was unpleasant. And I'm not exactly sure what this person was talking about, but when somebody is put in a system or put in obligation of somebody, things are not necessarily lawful, legal, or even ethical once you have entered into this contract of getting help from a stranger. Even in families, families can be manipulative about money or resources. And why do people think that would be any different when a stranger is helping a more vulnerable person? There's that science experiment where it was a prisoners. It was like done at a college. There was the prisoners and the prison guards, and the prison guards became abusive in like a week. They had to cancel the experience because people were being traumatized by that dynamic. And there's these ignorant, sheltered people that assume that those who are really vulnerable have the same fortitude and thick skin and whatever that insulated, protected, sheltered, wealthier person with resources has. And the thing is, when somebody is more sheltered, protected, uh, even if they have a limited income or they have had some hardships, when life is easier, you might be a little bit more easygoing. Like people treat you decently, so you expect to be treated decently. And but when people are subjected to prolonged trauma, to prolonged privation, to institutions that deliver, their model is privation. Their model, like the government model, is to make things as difficult and traumatic as possible to the end user. Just look at the DMV, and the thing is, the DMV experience is the experience that people in the system generally have, and it's actually worse. Because when you're in the system, there's degradation. The people who are the government workers generally loathe those who are accessing resources. Those who are government workers despise the needy, the vulnerable, the disabled, the elderly. Generally, that has been my experience. There is not a humane generosity of spirit kind of impression that I've ever got when I've interacted, and I haven't heard it from my peers who have been in the system, so to speak. And every once in a while, whenever I'm doing like a kind of a disclosure video, like people were like, "Well, I met this one nice person." Of course, yeah, there's going to be one amazing saintly person, praise the Lord. But generally, as a rule, and the thing is, there's statistics, there's experts that would back me up on this if I only knew who they were and could quote it. But I'm just talking from my personal experience. So, so people are like, well, the vulnerable people should just, accept the church lady's help or accept that strange man on Craigslist's help or accept the government's help. But it's not so simple. What we understand sorry about that, what we understand as human decency, stuff that if you're going to the grocery store and the exchange that's happening between you and the cashier, that basic dignity of you being the customer, it does not happen when you're a vulnerable person and a church lady is helping you, or a man off of Craigslist is helping you, or the government worker is helping you. There's something different when you have to surrender to somebody. Like, I prefer being in the private sector. I prefer, when I'm renting, I prefer renting with my income to the landlord. I do not like being kind of in the system, because just time and time again, there's not respect for whoever's in the system. There's just this, I don't know if it's just something that actually happens to government workers or to church workers or something like that, or to people who are, they're trying to do good, and um, and so they're helping the poor or whatever. But I noticed that dignity, you don't get to retain your dignity if somebody's helping you, and so you can't have a different opinion. Like if you're let's say, I mean, and it can be like a fine tooth comb. Like let's, I guess people would help you if they were a vegan and you eat meat. But, let's say talking about religion or talking about politics, and then even getting more, cutting hairs, let's say about religion, because there's doctrinal stuff in religion that is a big deal. Um, so and I noticed this with immigrants, uh, is that some will, they're going like new immigrants to America, let's say the past couple of years, they're probably totally going with everything, right? Because they want to make America happy. They want to make the loudest voices in the United States happy. So they're probably totally down with suffocating and injection and whatever, lockdowns. Um, because they just want to keep their heads low, because they're like, well, I don't want certain factors about me to make me a target. Um, and the thing is, if an immigrant says, no, I came to America to breathe, I came to America to retain my bodily autonomy, I came to America to retain my genetics. Now, if a dark skinned person um, said, I'm going to retain my DNA, my DNA that's been genocided back in Asia, right? If that immigrant said that, they came here to be free, and if the liberals were attacking them, that would be a significant news story, and that would begin to affect the Stockholm syndrome that the white elite, the white educated liberals are stuck in, because the white liberals are like, well, we can't, like liberals can't harm people of color. So if the people of color from other countries would only speak up, that would be good. But the people of color are probably keeping, the immigrants, they're scared, and so they're keeping their voices quiet. But there's kind of like this power that immigrant people of color have, uh, and they have such a perspective. I'm sure they're like, I didn't come to the United States for this, to suffocate. you know I mean, that would be an interesting story. So what I'm trying to say is, there's sheltered, ignorant, wealthy people, very nice people that just assume the really vulnerable people, okay, somebody's going to help them. What I'm trying to say is that there's people who either are predatory by nature, or there's something toxic that gets activated when they are helping somebody who's totally vulnerable. And there's this expectation when somebody is needing help that they have to surrender everything. They don't get to have their dignity. They don't get to have their opinions, especially now in this very volatile time. But even, not even, I mean, even before 2020. Um, so, and I think like the people who are helping the very vulnerable, they're like, oh, well, these people are so nice. These people may be very nice. The the destitute, vulnerable person, they might be naturally super nice people, and that's probably why they're vulnerable, is because they don't know how to fight this dog eat dog world. I don't know how to do it very well myself. So yeah, there's a lot of super nice, destitute, vulnerable people, but it's not just that. It's that the destitute, vulnerable person who's trying to get some help, they're biting their tongue. They're just, and after a while, like I think we actually do need friction. I think and that's a really tough thing. But I think that's been the problem. Maybe the past 10 years is people have been biting their tongue, and maybe also getting swayed that what their fundamental beliefs are were wrong, and and good intentions. I think people have been trying to have good intentions, but like that phrase, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." Isn't that just like the summary of what we've been dealing with? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. All that's been going on. Oh, let's save the earth. Okay, save grandma. Okay, so suffocate yourself, lock down because you want to possibly save grandma. And grandma, what did grandma die of? She got the stuff, all the things that's been going on. She was kept hostage in wherever. So the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We need to stop having good intentions. And what I understand to be true is we need to follow the Bible, and we need to have a relationship with Jesus. And I know this seems a bit out of left field, but we are supernatural beings. We are in a supernatural realm, and we need supernatural help. We need supernatural guidance. And the Bible is a good place to start. And I like listening to like audiobooks of people reading the Bible. I like the verse by verse Bible reading that's on YouTube. But like, it's not good intentions that is going to take care of things. It's actually us having a relationship to God. And the only way we can have a relationship to God is through Lord Jesus Christ. And this video can't really go into explaining that, but there's many others that do. But I am so disappointed and perplexed because the wealthy peers around me don't really realize how dangerous and toxic it is to be in the system, to be obliged to somebody. And some of us just don't know how to play the game. Some of us just don't know how to get out of the situation that we're in. And I don't think blaming blaming people um, is effective or justified. So yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on that. And does anybody else relate to what I am describing? So thank you for listening. God bless.